Welcome to a new episode of the Every Day is a New Day show. My name is Kim O'Neill, and in addition to being your host, I am also a transformational coach for big-hearted women, an interview confidence coach. And if you'd like to find out more about that, please visit KimO'NeillCoaching.com to find out more about that. Today, we are here to speak with another really awesome mover and shaker about moving forward and choosing to embrace a positive outlook. And my guest today is Whitney Gordon-Mead. Welcome, Whitney.
Thank you. I'm really excited to be here today.
I am really excited to have you here today because I know that a big part of what we're going to talk about is, centers around self-care and all the different ways that we can do that. And you have some personal stories that are going to be incredibly beneficial for all of us to hear and be inspired by. So before we get into that, I'm going to go ahead and just give everyone that is getting to meet you for the very first time a little bit of your background by sharing with them your bio. And so let me go ahead and pull that up. And so for all those who are just joining us today, I'm here with Whitney Gordon-Mead, and she is the CEO of Intuit Wisdom LLC. She is a speaker, certified life coach, ordained minister, and on track to have her doctorate in metaphysics by mid-2020. I think that's really awesome, Whitney. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
She has 3 decades of experience researching personal growth and how we heal from within. Whitney had fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue, and burnout, and she healed herself. She knows firsthand the challenges of finding physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual balance. So she's dedicated her life to helping other women avoid and recover from burnout. And her strategy is to support women to reclaim their passion and create the life they desire. I said that a little awkward, but she says it's because life is meant to be enjoyed, not endured. And I completely agree. So, you know what, Whitney, I'm going to go ahead and just make sure that we are showing up on Facebook, and it looks like we are, so we're going to go and close that over on our end. If you're with us live, please go ahead and join in the comments. And looks like we've got some people with us. So hello to Serenity and Jack. Yeah. Really great to have you here.
So exciting. Yeah. Welcome.
And so feel free throughout this conversation, if you have any ahas or questions for us, for Whitney, please go ahead and put those in the comments because we love to interact with you live. So Whitney, I would love to just first start off, and will you share with us, this story that you have about healing from fibromyalgia and recovering from burnout and all of that led to where you are today?
Yeah. So actually, my first experience of healing from within was with burnout. And it started about 25 years ago. I know, I feel so old.
No.
Anyway, so like I said, about 25 years ago, I was working 7 days a week, probably about 17 hours a day. And it really felt like I was working, all the time. And that was probably because I was. And the only time that I ever went out was with friends with clients or with colleagues. So even that was work related. And of course, at the time, I didn't think this was a problem. I was Superwoman and I was invincible. And so I could do it all. Unfortunately, living like that took its toll and I burned out. And, at first, I was so frustrated. The low energy level, just in general, being a type A person. So the frustration really was difficult for me. I mean, just like wanting to do and not being able to, but I ignored that it was an issue. It was like, okay, I just need some more rest.
Okay.
And I stopped, but what I did was I did stop taking on new clients. I slowed my pace because I was kind of forced to. And on days when I felt more energized, I would then take on the world in this one big type A burst. Okay. And I would push myself to, take care of my clients, to run my errands, to, just whatever needed to be done. And then I would get home and I would collapse. And it got to the point where I became so depleted that I couldn't even handle the clients that I had, and I couldn't understand why I was so exhausted.
Okay.
I went from thinking that I was indestructible to laying in bed most of the day, every day, just feeling like a zombie. And I was numb, and I was disconnected from life. I didn't have the energy to just to do, to feel, to anything. And deep down there was this fear that I might always be this way, that I couldn't recover. What I realized was I had given pieces of myself to my work, to the people in my life, but I never took the time to give that same care to myself. So rock bottom was more than just feeling exhausted. I literally was losing my passion for life. There was no energy to have that passion. And then one day, I remember I turned on the TV. I was in bed. I turned on the TV. There was a show on, and it was actually Carolyn Meese. I don't know if you're familiar with her, but
yeah, I am a little bit.
Yeah. Okay. So it was a great show, and it really gave me hope about reclaiming my passion and that zest for life again. However, I realized that I couldn't do this alone. I needed help. I needed either a mentor or some type of guidance. And I made a commitment to find myself the help that I needed, and to focus all my energy towards healing myself from burnout.
Okay.
One of the first things that I was told after I found a coach to work with.
Okay.
And one of the first things that I was told was that instead of pushing myself to that point of physical and mental fatigue, that I needed to learn how to listen to my body. I mean, huge, like, what? Like,
right.
What's that? And I remember she taught me some body, mind, spirit practices that would help, really strengthen my foundation.
Okay.
I learned how to pay better attention to my body, and really, the main thing that I learned was how to love myself, how to love, value, and appreciate myself. As much as I, love, valued, and appreciated my business and my clients and my family and my friends and my colleagues. I mean, you can go on and on.
Yeah.
How you treat other people. However, I needed to learn how to do that for myself. Now, there's a little bit of a twist to the story.
Okay, go ahead.
I have to confess that my perfectionistic type A tendencies did drive me to burnout once again, years after healing myself that first time.
Thank you for being honest about that. Okay, tell us more.
Yeah, no. I mean, it's a little embarrassing, but at the same time, what I realized, I actually discovered something life-changing from that. And I will share more about this in a few minutes. But
okay.
What I discovered not only helped me recover from burnout again, it also allowed me to tap into my passion and really create a life of joy and ease. So it was, I took that one more step further that gave me this fabulous life that I have now.
Okay. So a few questions for you. Mm-hmm. The first time that you reached a burnout, do you recall at some point prior to getting to, so you didn't, I don't think you used the word workaholic, but it sounded essentially like you were a workaholic. Is the okay? Okay.
Absolutely. I was not just a workaholic. I was a do-aholic.
Okay.
Okay. So I worked out, I worked, I did everything hard. Whatever it was no such thing as moderation.
Right. Okay. So prior to that first burnout that you had, was there ever a time before that where you weren't so much of a do-aholic? Like, was there some sort of turning point where all of a sudden you became a do-aholic? Or was that just kind of like your natural way of being that all of a sudden, like, you couldn't move forward with it anymore? And that's where the burnout happened.
Really good question. And I would have to say I have always, let's put it this way, I've never been a moderation person. I've always done in excess. And that comes from that whole type A perfectionist piece of me. And just, yeah. I mean, I didn't even know there was anything, I didn't know that there was any other way to be.
So did self-love, was that even a phrase that maybe you ever used for yourself or heard prior to your burnout?
No,
Okay.
no, not at all. No, I mean, there was a lot of, I'll say I was quite unaware.
Okay. Well, and this is how we become aware, right? Something shifts and it's like, oh, we have to look at it now.
Yeah.
So when you had that first burnout, we usually there are things that lead up to, that burnout where you're like, okay, I have to change now. Do you recall some of those warning signs or some of those things that you're like, oh, I should probably do something about this, but I'm not ready to yet. I can keep pushing through. I can keep doing this.
Not the first time.
Okay.
No, the first time it really took me by surprise. Like, yeah, totally taken off guard. The second time, absolutely. I saw it coming, and I felt like there was nothing I could do about it. I had made a commitment to do something that, it was all about that again, that type A perfectionist. It had to be just right. And I was doing a telesummit, and it was a lot more work than I expected. And I did have support. However, things kept coming up. More things kept coming up, that needed to be dealt with. So I remember clearly thinking, I got to figure out, I got to get through this. I just got to get through this. Okay, one more, it was more like, oh, it's just one more month. Then, oh, it's just 3 more weeks. Oh, just 2 more weeks, just 1 more week. And then when I got to that point, it was like, oh my God, I'm not done yet. I still have to do all the follow-up stuff. Yeah. And it was just like, just trying to hang in there.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what did when you finally had that realization of, it's time to make a change, mm-hmm. What did that look like for you? Or what, if you bring it back to the whole mind-body awareness, what showed up for you that told you it was time to make a change?
Well, I kind of gave you the story of the first time. But the second time, I would say it was more about I'm just trying to put myself back in that place. And what was it? It was that feeling of not being able to do the things that I loved to do.
Okay.
I think that was the biggest piece of it. It was, I mean, yes, I had my job, my business. However, so there were a few things. One, I had realized that what I was doing wasn't what I was meant to be doing. So, wow. Yeah. So I realized it wasn't what I wanted to be focused on. And so that was a big piece of it. That was a big aha. That was my wake-up call, really.
Okay.
And then from there, it was like, I'm not having fun. I am not having fun. And that's the thing about, I believe that it's so important to have joy in your life. Because without that, I mean, what's the point?
Right. Well, so it sounded like you realized that maybe things weren't quite in alignment, and therefore that's why you were burning out. Is that?
Yeah, that's accurate? Exactly it. Thank you for putting it into such lovely prose.
Well, I'm curious now because, one of the things that is mentioned in your bio is that you had fibromyalgia at one point and recovered from that. Is that part of this burnout story, or is that something separate?
It's separate, and yet what was interesting was I also had chronic fatigue with the fibromyalgia. So the chronic fatigue felt a lot like the burnout to me.
Okay.
But they were separate things. The fibromyalgia was triggered by a car accident.
Oh,
Mhm.
okay. Okay. And so, okay. So let's go back, since that's something separate. Let's just go back to the burnout first. What did you start to do to turn that around?
Well, like I said, I got myself a coach, which was really helpful. I also started, and I think it was stemming from that time I turned the TV on and that show was on, and that was when I started getting some spiritual books.
Okay.
Books by Carolyn Meese, books by, actually, I was reading, oh goodness, Esther and Jerry Hicks, some of their stuff, Sonia Choquette, I'm not sure if you're familiar with her.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, Dr. Wayne Dyer.
Okay.
And but there were, and there were more, but I couldn't get enough, and I was tired, because of the fatigue. I actually got the books on tape so that I could listen, or on CD, so I could listen to to listen to those, and I did. I listened to those. I mean, probably a few of them over and over and over again, and that's what kind of gave me the hope and got me starting to think in a whole different way, because before that I wasn't even spiritual. I wasn't religious, wasn't spiritual, and it got me starting to believe that there was something greater than myself out there.
You know what? And I find that this is so common, that so many of us, we live our lives one way until something happens that just kind of like forces us to say, okay, I have to stop. I need to shift something. I need to take a break. And that's what I tend to hear, is like the spirituality then starts to come in at that point.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I don't even know that thinking back, I don't even know that I knew what spirituality was.
I totally get it. Yeah.
Yeah. And now it's like amazing. I mean, I have my own little, my own beliefs, obviously. I believe in universal intelligence. And I believe that there is a higher, I will call it a higher power, universal, the design. And I believe that it's a friendly universe.
Why do you think it is that for so many of us, it's not until we have that like pivotal catalyst type of moment that we start to consider spirituality, or start to find an interest in looking into it and learning more?
I've always believed that people have religion because it's a support for them. And I believe for me, it gave me hope.
Yeah, that makes total sense. Absolutely. Let's take a quick look at the comments. We've got some great comments here. Serenity is saying, I'm so glad you got through this, Whitney Gordon-Mead, and that you're still with us and looking great. Absolutely. And we have Jack, who is saying that he has, he has an accountability coach. Comment's not completely showing up online. Let's see here. And another comment about loving audiobooks. You can learn heaps from listening while you do other things. Absolutely. I completely agree. And I think, Whitney, that was such a fantastic choice to get the audiobook, so you could just sort of be and soak up the information, is how I perceive that.
Yeah. It was, and then as I got better, I actually would go for walks and listen to my audiobooks.
Nice. Good. Well, and hello to Lillian. We see you out there as well. Glad that you could join us. And so let's take a look and shift gears more. Take a look at now the fibromyalgia. Will you tell us a little bit more about how you healed yourself from that? Because that is fascinating.
This is the interesting piece. We all have the power to heal from within. And I have to say, my belief is that it doesn't matter what that thing is. And as a matter of fact, I'm working on my dissertation now, and it's all about that self-love is the key to healing from within. And so that's where I guess I look at it like I used a lot of the stuff that I used to heal from burnout, to heal myself from fibromyalgia.
Okay.
Because I've done some research into psychosomatics.
Okay.
And they say that what's behind fibromyalgia is a feeling of not being wanted.
Okay.
And a feeling of not trusting yourself, and a feeling of being overwhelmed, and that having this huge to-do list. And so there's a number of different pieces to it. And what I realized was that I got fibromyalgia. Now, again, this is all not on a medical, physical level. But what I realized was I got fibromyalgia because I was doing, because that's where my identity was. It was what did I get accomplished? So if I didn't accomplish, I wasn't valuable. Okay. So I needed a break. I needed a break, and I couldn't give myself permission to take that break, so I got sick.
On a subconscious level.
Yeah, well, psychosomatic. I mean, it is powerful. And it wasn't until I started accepting that I was wanted. I mean, because that was a piece from my childhood. That was deep. So there's a lot of deep stuff that's involved in fibromyalgia. And the reason why a lot of people don't heal from it is because it gives them a reason to, I'll say, take it easy. Like most of the women who get it, and women get it more than men, are again like me, type A, go-getters, and then they get sick, and all of a sudden they have a permission to rest.
Right.
And it's hard then to go back. Like my fear was if I went back to work, if I ever got better and went back to work, I was going to do the same thing all over again.
So now how did you first come to that realization that you had a belief about your identity that wasn't serving you and was leading to all these health things and burnout that you were having?
Research.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I just started reading books. I have always been fascinated by self-help books.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, psychosomatics was just, it was just one thing. It was almost like, and I couldn't give you the exact trail of what but I started reading one thing, which led me to another, which led me to another. And then all of a sudden I was reading about psychosomatics. And I started putting the pieces together. So
was there anything that you actively did at some point to make a conscious decision, I'm going to heal this. I want to be done with fibromyalgia? Or was it just that process of reading books and enhancing your awareness and understanding of all these pieces that it eventually shifted? And
that was a big piece of it, working with my coach.
Okay.
And because those were things that we would address through this in the sessions. And how can I, so for example, different tools that I could use, journaling. I mean, just asking myself, like she would help me she would come up with questions. This is what you can journal to, ask yourself these questions, affirmations. So there are specific tools that can be used to shift the way you think.
I find journaling incredibly helpful for anybody, but I do want to focus on type A women or women who are doers and need time to just do a brain dump.
Yes, absolutely. Right? Absolutely. Oh my God. And some of those brain dumps are pages long. It's like,
yes. And it doesn't have to make sense to anybody. It's just time to get it out and just like a breather for the mental space.
Absolutely. And there are times when I do that just when I'm starting to feel like my head is full of all the things that I need to do.
Yeah.
Once I write them all down on a piece of paper, it's like, oh my God, I feel so much better.
Well, tell us a little bit more about self-love, because I know that term's out there a lot. And, for me, in my experience, it can look like a million different things. What does self-love look like to you? And do you have any tips or recommendations for how someone can start to connect with, giving themselves more love first?
Oh, yeah. I got lots of good tips.
Oh, goody.
And actually, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to share the tips based on the mistakes that I made.
Okay.
And that my clients have made, because, we all do it.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. And then hopefully this will help, our listeners to avoid making these mistakes. I would say the first mistake was not paying attention to my body. I know we've talked a little bit about that one before, but my body was telling me, stop, rest. It's just like, cut it out already. And of course, my mind was going, was go, 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 go,
Yeah.
And so there was a tool that I created that affected one of the biggest initial shifts for me to get out of the burnout cycle. And that was a daily practice of listening to my body's messages and then giving it what it was asking for. And then, so basically, one of the things that I noticed, that whenever I ignored what my body was telling me, my body always managed to get in the last word. It just did.
Okay, so let me ask you first, for anybody who's not used to communicating with their body or listening to their body, how did you go inward to connect with what are your body's messages? I'll just say, for me, something that I'll do is literally say, okay, body, what are you trying to tell me?
Yeah.
Is that?
It's very similar to that. I have what I created was, and I called it my From Burnout to Balance simple 10-minute daily self-care practice.
Okay. And
I have a PDF version of this that what I'll do is I'll let our readers know how they can get their hands on it later, towards the end of the show. But basically 10 minutes, just get quiet and check in with your body. So it's almost, it starts off like meditation, where you find a place where there's no distractions. You sit or lie down, whichever you prefer. Close your eyes, do some breathing, deep breathing, kind of get comfortable, and then go inward and literally focus on your body. Just pay attention to the sensations that you're feeling. And when you actually start paying attention, you realize you have sensations in different parts of your body you may never realize before that. And then after you've sort of paid attention for a little while, I say, one of the things I say is to the area that is the most uncomfortable, whatever it is. It could be your stomach, it could be your solar plexus, it could be your chest. You might feel tension, you might feel, pain. Whatever it is, you can communicate. Quietly, silently, communicate and ask that part of your body, well, how are you feeling? And what's fascinating is that if you're just being, you're just being present, you'll notice that you'll either have words popping into your mind, or you'll have emotions coming up. You may see colors, you may see shapes, images. So it's kind of a matter of just trying to figure, and it's a little bit like trying to figure out what it is. Almost, I forget the name of that game that you play when you're trying to guess. The one person is doing all the charades.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it's like from these messages, I have always, sometimes I don't get it right away, but eventually it's like, oh, that's what you want. Like, I'll usually have a word pop into my head, like rest, or safety. or whatever it is, then I'll ask that part of my body, well, what do you need from me? Again, silently.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll be open to a response. And whatever that response is, I mean, even if I'm not exactly sure what it is, I'll say, okay, you know what, whatever you need, I'm willing to give it to you. And I will pay better attention to you going forward. Now, you can't just say it. You have to actually mean it.
Because your body will have the last word otherwise, right?
Absolutely. And the thing is that when you start doing this on a daily basis, your body will they'll start feeling safer, number one, and it'll start believing that you really care.
I love that you said that. So this is definitely resonating with a lot of experiences I've had this past year. And I just talked a little bit about this myself earlier today. And what I have found is that the more that I listen to my body, the more I also allow myself to receive my own self-love.
Exactly. That's why it's the first thing on the list.
Gosh, goodness.
And you'll just start noticing that there are shifts in the sensations that you feel in your body. It's not about trying to force things. It's about letting things happen, about receiving, about being in communion with your body.
Absolutely. Yes. Yes. Well, and we had a comment here from Jack. I think he's going back to earlier, I guess, when we were talking about fibromyalgia and stuff, but he says, do men have these illnesses? I know you said that women predominantly have fibromyalgia, but do you have any other thoughts about men and their likelihood to experience burnout and anything related to that?
Oh, I mean, it's definitely, yeah. Men can have fibromyalgia, men can have burnout. It's just that it's more prevalent for women.
Mm-hmm.
And my belief is that women have to prove themselves more than men do. And so we work a lot harder to succeed, to accomplish, to show that we're valuable. And men don't have to work that hard.
I understand what you're saying. I also feel like, and I can hear some men saying, what? That's not true for me. But I totally get what you're saying, because with women, there's this whole thing about, making sure that you're taking care of other people and taking care of so many different things all at the same time, that it can be easy to lose ourselves in the mix. And so then to start to put ourselves first, or just to start to put ourselves somewhere in the mix at all, can be challenging, especially if you've lived a whole lifetime, up to that point of not having done that. And now you're trying to switch how you do everything.
Absolutely. And you're right. It's not that men, yes. There are a lot of powerful men out there that work long hours. But like you said, it's about women giving in so many different areas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, totally. Well, let's get back to what Serenity is talking about here. I want to go right back to the whole piece of self-love. Will you share with us, a little bit more? So what does self-love look like for you?
Okay. Well, it's funny because that's sort of in line with my second mistake.
Okay.
Which was to let go of my self-care practices.
Oh.
And because I believe that self-care is under the umbrella of self-love. Mm. So self-love encompasses a lot of different things. Self-care is a big one. And so one of my mistakes, like I said, was letting go of my self-care practices that I had. And so the tool that, supported me was really taking a step back to look at the big picture, like, how did I get here?
Right.
Because this is the thing. At the height of my burnout, I might have believed that I loved myself.
Okay.
And yet my actions said otherwise. Because I stopped treating myself like I would treat someone who was important to me or someone that I cared about. I again, it was giving to others and not to myself. So once I began to prioritize myself again, I was able to invest more time and more energy in myself through the self-care practices. And self-care is one of the ways that we demonstrate that we love ourselves. And it's interesting because science actually shows that this creates positive energy, self-care, and it can move us from burnout to balance. And so, I mean, a few examples of self-care that I have done. I mean, it's not every day, but I'll take a nap if I feel like I need one. I make sure that I try to get somewhere between 8 and 9 hours of sleep a night.
Nice.
And if I do that, usually I don't need a nap during the day. But if I don't do that, then I might need a nap during the day. I do deep relaxing breathing. During the day, I'll take breaks to do that. I play with my kitty.
Oh.
That to me is self-care. I mean, it is. I don't. If you don't have a cat, you wouldn't understand. But my cat will just lie in my lap and purr, and it's so calming. And she loves me to rub her belly, which is unusual for a cat, but.
I've heard, yes. But a cat represents a form of, connecting with something that brings you joy, right? And it helps you drop into probably a heart space.
Yeah, absolutely. And so there, it's a form of, like you said, dropping into the heart space and just being present, and also being still. And in one respect, it's being still, and I consider it me time, even though I'm petting the cat.
That's okay. The cat is there for you to be part of your self-care.
Exactly. It's like, wait a minute. The cat's going, wait a minute. You're my master. I'm in charge. And I'm going, yeah, you think so, You're here for my own. No, you're here for my own love and amusement. No, I'm just kidding. But,
I love how you mentioned a few moments ago about, it's one thing to think, be aware of the self-care that you need to do. It's another thing to actually do it. Mm-hmm. Highlighting the importance of doing it, because what that makes me think of is how, we can talk about, when we have relationships with other people and maybe getting frustrated with other people because maybe their words aren't matching their actions. But how about for ourselves? Are our own words and thoughts matching our own actions? And sometimes we aren't always aware of that. And I think our self-care is a great way that we can start to have that alignment for ourselves, is to make sure, well, wait, what do we think about self-care? And are we actually implementing that into our own lives? So,
and I actually, one of the things that I do now, and I have been doing for quite some time, is I make sure to wake up an hour before I normally have to get up.
Okay.
And I give myself that hour. I may use the whole hour, I may not, but I give myself that hour to meditate. And sometimes the meditation involves visualization. Sometimes I do meditation and then visualization, but the visualizing is, I kind of visualize myself being in my happy place, which is the beach.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And then I do journaling. I use essential oils, so that's a part of my process as well. And sometimes I will pick like an affirmation card, and then I also have that would be like in addition to my regular affirmations that I tend to use. Mm-hmm. That I mix up, I kind of every once in a while, but and then I'll do some reading. Just something spiritual, something with, food for thought kind of reading. Am I missing anything? I don't think so. I think I've got it all.
That sounds wonderful. It sounds like you're spending quality time with yourself in that first hour of the day, mm-hmm. giving to yourself first. That's beautiful.
And it sets up the whole day too, because then it makes me happy.
Yeah.
So I start the day in a good mood, looking forward to the day.
Wonderful. Well, let's just take one more look at the comments here. I know I saw some of the things here. Yes, Serenity is talking about it's amazing what the body has to say and communicate when you start speaking with it and listening, tuning into it. Absolutely. And of course, Jack was mirroring that. I think we actually posted this earlier. And what else was there? And Jack, thank you so much. Loving these comments from our live viewers today. So Jack is saying, yes, women are moving up the corporate ladder and can work so much and not pay attention to their body. Absolutely. And then Serenity was highlighting that there's a great book or program titled From Burnout to Balance. Are you familiar with that, Whitney?
Well, there's my self-love, my 7-day self-love challenge, which is called From Burnout to Balance. I'm not sure if that's what she's talking about.
I wondered. I wasn't sure myself. Well,
yeah.
Let's go ahead and let's shift gears a little bit and talk more about the work that you do with women to help them shift from burnout to balance.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. So, so basically, I mean, my approach is that everything is personalized. So I actually have an assessment that I have these women fill out to just get a sense of, you know, what areas are challenges for them.
Okay.
So it could be in the area of like what I just mentioned, that, you know, they're not taking care of themselves.
Right.
That could be a big one. Or maybe it's about perfectionism. Could be that they haven't learned yet how to say no. That's another one. So there are 5 main areas which I actually get more into during the From Burnout to Balance 7-day self-love challenge.
Awesome.
So, which I can also tell people about, you know, tell our listeners about, you know, about as we get towards the end of the show. But once I get a better feel for what areas are their challenges, then it's always their choice. What do they want to work on first? And I give them the tools so that they can then start shifting.
Nice.
You know, who they were, how they were being to what it is that they want.
I like that you take that personalized approach and don't just have some sort of cookie cutter formula necessarily, and that you allow them to decide what they're going to do first, because it's, you know, for anybody who's in that perfectionism or type A mode, that allows a person to feel like they still have some sense of control. You know, okay, I'm going to choose to switch into taking time for more self-care, but I get to do it my way. You know, with Whitney's help, I'm going to choose to do this first.
Oh yeah. No, I never tell somebody, okay, this is what you're going to do.
I like it.
Yeah, because it has to be something that they're willing, that they're willing to do, that they're interested in doing. It's like, okay, try this on and see if it fits. And if it fits, great. And if it doesn't fit, then let's look at something else.
Yeah.
Because there are options as far as things that you can do to address the different areas, the different challenges.
What would you tell someone who is, you know, experiencing, they feel like they're on the brink of that very first burnout and they're maybe scared to make a change, but yet life's kind of telling them, or their body's telling them, they got to do something different? Yeah.
Well, I mean, well, you know, my view on fear.
Yes, let's talk about that.
Yeah. My view is feeling the fear and doing it anyway, because I don't like to be stopped. You know, I don't like fear to stop me, I should say.
Okay.
And so I believe that once you start getting messages, I mean, it's important to listen to them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So once it comes to you that, you know, maybe I need to be doing something, you need to be doing something.
And from your experience, was there a time period where you were receiving those messages, but then doubting them or discounting them?
No. I think I was rationalizing.
Okay.
Yeah. I was like, okay, I know, and I will take care of you. Just give me another couple of weeks, Yeah, but I was well aware that these these were accurate messages, and I was getting them correct, and I just needed to start paying attention, like listening to them and doing what I was getting.
I just got the idea about how if we put ourselves on the back burner, that's kind of the fast track to burnout.
That's good. I like that.
I just want to say that. Yeah, thank you. That was good too.
That one I haven't thought of. Yeah. No, that's the truth though, and that's where prioritizing yourself comes in.
Yeah.
And as a matter of fact, well, I've got a blog that I just put out about perfectionism and burnout, and there's actually a funny story in it.
Okay.
And yeah, it's a story about me and my husband when we first got together, and my perfectionism, which I call myself a recovering perfectionist because
I do too.
yeah, exactly. It's like, yeah, because I'm a constant work in progress,
We all are.
Yeah, and I mean, perfectionism, it'll drive you into the ground
Yeah.
if you let it. So, yeah. So there's a reason I brought this up, and now I'm trying to remember what that was.
You know what? I may have shifted the conversation a little bit. I don't know. Did we answer? What would you tell someone who's in that space of realizing they're on the brink of burnout, but maybe resisting it? Did you answer that?
Yeah, that's the thing. Resistance. I always tell people whenever you resist, it persists.
Yes. Well, you said feel the fear and do it anyway. You said that as well.
And I said that as well, exactly. And the thing is, I mean, really, the pain is in the burnout.
Yeah.
Not in the change. The change is really your answer, your solution.
Start to feel better.
Yeah. It's not scary if you look at it in terms of, because I tell my clients this all the time, baby steps. It's not like you jump in, your entire body all at once. Like
right.
you dip your toe, your little toe into the water, and then you inch in little by little.
Well, I think some of the fear can be around, well, if I'm going to pay attention to my body, if I'm going to start to devote more of my time to my body and what's going on with me, then that means what am I taking time away from in my life? And well, no one else is going to do it, so I have to be the one to do it. Do you have any thoughts about that, of how we still accomplish things and take care of ourselves?
Yeah, lots of thoughts, as a matter of fact. Because that was exactly what I was thinking. And what I came to realize was that, and this is from experience, the more time that I give to myself just to be,
yeah,
the more focused I get, the more effective and efficient I am. I'm getting better sleep, so I'm more rested. I get things done in less time. I actually am more productive now than ever, giving myself that time just for me.
Excellent point. I love that. And I'm really glad we highlighted that, because I think that's a burning question for a lot of people. Okay, I'm getting the message, but what's going to happen over here? And it's kind of might seem like a mystery to consider that you might actually have more time, or that things get done in a shorter amount of time because you're making that shift to take care of yourself. So I'm glad we touched on that.
Yeah, and there's another piece to it, and that is you're better able to prioritize. You're better able to say, it becomes easier for you to say no to the things that you don't want to be doing, and yes to yourself. So what happens is you end up having less to do. because you learn how to delegate, you learn how to prioritize, you learn how to say no. Yeah, there's a lot to it.
Beautiful. A whole reprioritizing of probably everything that's on that to-do list, just by taking care of ourselves.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And loving ourselves, and all that.
Awesome. Well, Whitney, so I know you do have some awesome, you've got your challenge and you have another thing here. Let's see. You have your From Burnout to Balance 7-Day Self-Love Challenge that we're going to go ahead and provide the link to everyone at the end of the show. We'll put that in the comments. You also have a free gift for everyone. You talked about it briefly earlier. Do you want to share a little bit more about either of those before we start to wrap up?
Well, I mean, I kind of walked you through the From Burnout to Balance simple 10-minute daily self-care practice. And so the PDF is just a way for you to be able to, get more information.
Awesome.
And so that is pretty self-explanatory. The 7-Day Self-Love Challenge, the next one is in February. And if you sign up now, then you'll get notified as is the exact date and the information that you need. And it's a fabulous. I mean, I've had rave reviews about it.
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh, that's wonderful. Well, before we wrap up here, I know we had a comment when we were talking about the book that sounds like your challenge. Serenity went ahead and gave us some more thoughts on that. She said, no, where to go? No, I meant that would be a good name and not that it is already out there. And your communication is totally fine, Serenity, but thank you for clarifying.
Oh, yeah. No, I got it. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's the name of of one of my my PDFs. Like I said, that program. Well, I've got my website, which actually the link to both of those things starts with my website. So it's just whitneygordon-mead.com. So that, and there's a lot on there. I've got all my blogs, or we're calling them articles now. I've got, oh goodness, I have my Facebook page, which is Positive Healthy Inspiration. So there's a lot of different ways. Or you could just Google me, and there's lots of, I'm amazed. I actually Googled myself for the first time on Saturday.
Okay.
I was like, holy, I couldn't believe all the information about me. It was almost a little scary.
Oh, that's funny. That's funny. Well, good for you. I know I looked at your Facebook page and I was like amazed. I think you have like several thousand people.
Oh, I've got like 87 or 88,000. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. So if you've got that many people on a Facebook page, I'm not surprised if there's a lot of other stuff out there.
That's true. Yeah, thank you.
Well, thank you so much for being here today with us, Whitney, and talking about self-care, self-love, your own personal story, and just being in this conversation about insights and tips. I do think that it's something that's never going to go out of style, but I personally know a lot of people who are really having to look at that for themselves this year. And so hopefully we've been able to help those who were able to listen or watch today's conversation, and continue to share your takeaways with us. What questions do you have? What has your experience been? And has anything that we shared today been able to support you, or maybe even mirrored what you experienced? You're not alone on this. And I think we'll leave it there. That's our show for today. Did you have any parting thoughts, Whitney?
No, I just wanted to say I had a lot of fun, and you're a great host.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. I absolutely love this show. And thank you to everyone who is with us again on the live or on the replay. I will see you again next week with another awesome guest on the Every Day is a New Day show. Have a fantastic day. We'll see you next time. Bye.